जी हाँ दोस्तों, नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल। मैं दानिश महाजन, प्रोग्राम बदलता दौर में आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत। आज रविवार का दिन, और जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं, रविवार का दिन समय होता है आपको एक पर्सनैलिटी से मिलाने का, डिसेबिलिटी के ऊपर बात करने का। और इसी श्रृंखला में जो आज की हमारी मेहमान है वो बहुत खास है। उनका इंस्टीट्यूट, उनका हॉस्पिटल या उनकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक बहुत ही सराहनीय काम कर रहे हैं इन द फील्ड ऑफ एम्पावरिंग पर्सन्स विद डिसेबिलिटी। तो आज हम उसके बारे में डिटेल्ड में बात करेंगे। वैसे तो आप सभी लोग, you all are well aware of this institute and the projects they are carrying forward for the empowerment of persons with disability. But still, there are a lot of things that we want you to know about this institute, and also those who don't know about this institute and their projects. So it is our duty to carry forward their mission to aware maximum we can. So we have Dr. Beulah Christie from LVI Institute or Rehabilitation Center. Ma'am, correct me if I'm wrong. She's head of this institute from last 30 years. Around about last 30 years, she's rendering her services to this institute and has empowered thousands and thousands of persons with disabilities and educated a lot of people, even non-disabled, who learned from their institute, went to their native state and started working for the empowerment of persons with disability. Dr. Christie, thank you so much for your valuable time and welcome to Radio Dan.
Hello everyone, nice meeting you all. It's my pleasure joining this show.
Dr. Christie, tell us about yourself. In the beginning, you joined this institute in 1992. You were quite young and you completed your bachelor in rehabilitation sciences. At that time, most of the people were not aware of this sort of degrees or this sort of programs. How did you think of having rehabilitation sciences your subject? How did you come in this field? Tell us about it.
Right. My father, he was an administrator in the hospital, eye hospital, which is very closely associated with the Home for the Blind in Tiruchirappalli. So on Sundays and holidays, I used to visit that home and then just, try my bit of helping those inmates, like helping them to, buy few stationaries or writing a letter for them, sort of things. So when I finished my intermediate, that's when a new course was initiated in Holy Cross College, Tiruchirappalli. That's my hometown. So my parents thought, on seeing, the connect that I have created with these inmates, they thought that this course is something related to that, why not explore that? To be honest, I wanted to do journalism or related to a course related to law. I didn't want to do anything related to medicine because in my family, my uncles and my aunts and several others, they were all connected with the hospital. So I was very much sure that I didn't want to do anything that is related with hospitals. But then I was interested in my other things, journalism, law. But my parents, they decided, that this new course would, suit me well. Those days, we didn't have the liberty of choosing what we wanted to do. I'm coming from a very traditional upbringing family, so I wanted to just listen to my parents whatever they wanted to say. So that's how I started entering into this field. But I have to mention, while I was studying this course, like the basic contact that I have created with many of the people with impairment. The first 3 years of my bachelor's degree, it is all about the different categories of disabilities, including the intellectual impairment, hearing impairment, physical impairment, and vision impairment, and the master's more specifically focused on vision impairment. So the more and more the practical input that I have created, by visiting the different hospitals, the different organizations, somehow I got into this field. Then I thought, and the moment I was completing my post-graduation, I also got the offer from Government of India. So that time, there was a dilemma in me whether I have to, pursue what I have learned, what my heart and soul was pushing me to do, or get into the government sector. So I think that's when from LV Prasad Institute I got this offer. I thought, okay, for a year I just come visit here, learn a new language, new culture, be here, and then
Right.
In a year or so probably to go back to my home. So that's how my entry in this field and to LV Prasad.
ग्रेट. तो लिसनर्स, आज हम बात कर रहे हैं LVI इंस्टीट्यूट जो हैदराबाद में है, जिनका रिहेबिलिटेशन सेंटर भी है. इन्होंने कई लोगों को एम्पावर किया है. तो उस सिलसिले में हमारी आज की वार्तालाप है और बहुत सारी चीजें हम इस शो में जानेंगे. सो मैम, आई वांट टू नो व्हेन LV Prasad Eye Institute was started in 1987. Rehabilitation center was in a mind. It was there from the inception, since the inception of this hospital. But practically, it started in 1992, the time you joined this institute. What they found in you? So, because it was not there for 5 years, it was at very slow pace. What did they find in you, and what mission was there in your mind when you joined this?
So when we started, it's all about the eye facilities. It's a very comprehensive center that caters to the different needs of eye care, including research, eye banking, education, everything else. It is functioning as per with the center of excellence anywhere in the world. But then this component of rehabilitation that was missing. So that was the vision of our chairman and founder, Dr. Gullapalli Nageshwar Rao. So when we started this with me, 2 of my other friends have joined from the same college. So the services that we offered, it was only, probably I can say it's the lip service, just, talk to them, explain the medical condition the way they can understand, and then just telling them, okay, why don't you go to this particular organization for mobility training, or this organization for the computer assistive training. So we were just referring patients here and there. So when they started calling us back, or when they started revisiting for the medical follow-up, that's when we came to know a lot of organizations where we referred, either they were non-functional or not up to their satisfaction. So that's when we thought, why not we established a center that can comprehend to the needs of all categories of people and all their needs. So that's how we started our services, with a single room service to a multi-speciality comprehensive center. So over the years, we evolved this way.
How many people you have empowered till now? Any rough idea?
Should be, as per the last month's report, this is, I think, over 3 lakh people, individuals with vision impairment.
3 lakh?
Yeah.
Before I venture to your projects, 1-2 more questions, then we will move to your projects. What is the most happiest moment of your life during these 30 years of your service?
Right. See, I know, as I mentioned, when I joined here, I was, very young person, just completed my graduation and then joined this organization. Now, I know I have completed my doctorate degree, and then with this 30 years of experience, I have my own family, I have my daughter, right? So, the children whom I have seen when I actually started this organization, when I joined, when I was 22-year-old young person, the children whom I have attended, they are all grown, developed, and then they are all doing well. The relationship that I have maintained with them, I'm so privileged. It's not that I have seen them just once or twice and then after that they're out of contact. So everyone, they call me auntie, some are calling me, Didi. The kind of relationship that I'm maintaining with each of them, when they were as young as months old, probably 4 months, 5 months old, now they are all of equal to of my age, my daughter's age. So I'm so happy to see them the way they have progressed, settled in
Dr.
jobs.
Christie, when I was researching about you and your organization, a lot of people told me that you have maintained a very friendly uh, environment with your friends, as you are mentioning now. You never get irritated, whosoever calls you at whatsoever time they call you. So, what is the? How did you maintain that? You've been never angry. You are always cool and calm. How do you maintain a lot of phone calls you got?
First of all, thanks so much for that positive feedback. No, I must admit, even I'm a human being. Sometimes even I do, feel a bit irritated, but I never express that on my, clients, because and the probably if at all if I'm irritated, that's only among the team, not any time with any of my clients. With the team, yes, because sometimes if I observe, if I tend to hear anything, any negative, like some of my clients not attended on time or something, certain things that whatever they wanted, which we could not deliver for whatever reasons, I get upset. But whatever is this irritation, that is only with the team, and then at the end of the day, we are all a team, so we patch up. But with the clients, we are all, after all, being in this field, like if I'm committed to be in this field, I think, like that's my moral ethics, to be loyal to them, to be connected with them, and to listen to them. Obviously, I'm not the god to fulfill each of their requirements, needs, but what I can do, at least I can listen to them, and then pay attention, share the moral comfort with them, and whatever bit I can do, I can do. So that's what I'm doing. And thanks so much for this positive feedback on me. We need to do a lot. What we have done is, I think, the very basic way to
Dr.
go.
Christie, now let's talk about your projects. What are the projects at the moment you are running in your institute?
So, the different projects that we are doing, to brief you, the first one is the special needs vision clinic. That is for, kids who are having multiple impairment, who are non-verbal, right from infants, whose vision cannot be assessed through the, regular medical examination. If you ask a child to read the chart, it's unfair, like the child cannot read. But then adding to that, when they have the multiple issues, it's really hard for them to recognize anything. So rather saying the child is not reading, not cooperating, we need to give some positive response to the parents, like whether the child is seeing or not, how far the child can see. So in a clinical way, we can still measure their vision. So we have the advanced gadgets for that, equipment for that. So that's the clinic called Special Needs Vision Clinic. And the other program called Early Intervention Program for children with multiple impairment, like a child with vision impairment, and then having issues with speech or motor or their cognition area. I think probably ours is the first of its kind, cater to the needs of those kids. Like probably there are several organizations who can cater to the needs of visually impaired alone separately, or intellectually impaired alone separately. But then a child who is blind or low vision and then having other developmental delays, disabilities. So the integrated interdisciplinary approach of treating a child with the help of speech therapist, physiotherapist, special educator, and various other therapists, that approach is there. That's another project. And we have the full-fledged computer training facility, the different kinds of assistive software that we are training, and which is connected with the placement services. And we have also partnered with several other organizations like Youth for Job and then Vision Aid India and US. So with them, we are also trying to teach them the other different languages, the programs like Pythons, the office training sort of things. And we have programs for women who wants to learn on the home management skills, the different activities of housekeeping. That training program is there, and the mobility training, the other basic daily living skills need training, that is there. Low vision care is our specialty services. Someone who is having the potential vision, and then if they are not able to make the use of it, then we have the different kinds of devices with us. The range starts from a simple stand magnifier to the AI based devices. So we assess their vision, and then we prescribe, and then if they are from economically underprivileged background, we try to provide those devices free of cost through some projects, grants, and all of those devices are available from here so that they did not run from pillar to post to buy them or to procure them. And we have the digital library services. One can ask for any book. In case if the book is not available with this, then we are willing to record and then send it back to them. We also collaborate with other major national libraries like DC Forum and then Saksham, and then the Bookshare, Sukumaya Pustakalu. So through the network we arrange the different books that are required for them. And we have the vocational training unit, wherein especially for those who are illiterate and then from the background where they cannot go out and then work, for them we teach them the different skills, the tailoring skills, the jewelry making, the home decor, and many other things. So it's a livelihood initiative for them.
Right.
To learn everything from here. And finally, we have the outreach services. Somebody who cannot come, field workers, they reach out and then do needful training to them.
Dr. Christie, you have mentioned a lot of things, and I personally tell you, I spoke to people and I asked them, tell me some flaws of this organization. So when I would do interview, I would ask them. So most of the people told me there is no flaw. We cannot just forcefully make. So things are moving well. It's rarely that this sort of feedback I got from the people. But the services you are telling me, is it only for the people who are residing in Telangana or Hyderabad, or is it for across the country?
So, it is across the country, like people, if they travel from, other district, other states, what we do is like we offer them the, a short period of training. And then after that, we ask them to, manage the training at home and then come back again with a periodical interval for follow-up assessment and then the training. We prepare the parents that way. We give them the needful training brochure and then shorter video sort of things. So the whole world is talking about the pandemic. Everybody is afraid. One good thing what we have learned because of this period is we launched the tele-rehabilitation services. So now we are able to connect with each of our clients. It's a regular training every day through the WhatsApp video call. We are connecting with the individuals. So in the training, like using the dolls, we are including the physiotherapy that we are able to demonstrate to the parents, and then we are able to teach. And computer training, no doubt anybody can approach us. As I said, like LV Prasad, it is mainly a non-profit organization. I just want to highlight this again because, many times we may think like, probably by seeing the name at the World Class Institute that probably we have to, pay a huge amount for any service, including the medical treatment. Anyone from the economically underprivileged background, if they want to, avail any services, maybe the medical treatment or it could be the rehabilitation services, we welcome anyone to approach us. We are happy to provide them the required services. So, to respond back to your questions, yes, through the tele-rehab, we are able to connect. And the digital library services, by default, as and when the curriculum changes, we circulate the books to all the schools for the blind upon their request, and by default to many organizations we send. And some of our services are for the neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and even some of the African countries. They are asking, especially the early intervention services, which is very much lacking in those nations.
Absolutely, I want to spare some time on this. But before that, what is your tele helpline number? I read you have started this tele service, and how people can be benefited out of this.
Yeah. This is 68108234.
Can you tell us with STD code, because a lot of our listeners is from other states too?
Yeah. They can note down the Hyderabad code is 040.
Okay.
And the tele helpline numbers are 6810 2842 and 41.
Yeah.
They can also note down my personal number. I
Yeah,
can share my mobile
don't
number.
share. You share your email instead your phone number.
Right. So it's Beula, Beula, Beula at LVPEI. Remember LV Prasad Eye Institute? It's the first letter of everything. LVPEI.org.
Right. So, what sort of services you offer by your tele helpline?
See, basically beginning with the counseling services. See, we want to understand their medical background to ensure that we are not going wrong anywhere, meaning to say like any preventable condition we cannot include for rehabilitation care. So we need to talk to them, understand their medical background, if they have any previous certificate or any other medical information. We would love to receive them through email or whatever way they can transfer it to us. So we want to go through that medically if we can help them first of all. Then based upon the conversation, based upon their other things, there are several other parameters we need to look into. Their age, their type of impairment, and then any residual vision if they have, and what are their current requirements. Is it related to education or any training related or job related, whatever it is. So based upon their need, then we have to plan the management.
Right. Dr. Christie, you spoke about early intervention. It is very important. There are a lot of things we can do to prevent. There are a lot of cases who are preventive, but due to the lack of knowledge, they face these issues in later on in your life. So what are the tips you want to share how we can work in this direction if we early intervene, or we can prevent a lot of disabilities?
Right. So early intervention is like it is completely based on the concept of making use of the neuroplasticity of the brain, right? So like we all say like vision, it is just the ocular vision loss is just one category, but then there are a lot of other things can happen if we can stimulate the the neural aspect of the brain. So that is what is the whole concept of early intervention as such. So for infants, like the simple tip is like you can just follow the normal developmental milestones. Like you can follow like by example, if I have to give you like 3 months, we expect the child to hold the neck properly. Maximum of 4 months or 5 months. Even beyond that, if the child is not developing it properly, then there is certainly a problem. Right. So likewise, these days information is available. If you just Google search what are the normal developmental milestones, you'll understand for each of those organs, like for vision development, hearing, or intellectual development. For each of those areas, you will follow the normal developmental milestones. If you find if the child is deviating, don't relate everything to vision loss, because vision loss is just one component. The child, if you give the exposure, then the child should perform everything as per the normal milestones. So if the child is deviated, then you need to be alert. You need to initiate the activities immediately. Second thing is give them enough opportunities. If a child is just sitting idle and then if you label the child can't do many other things, that's very unfair. Unless you give the exposure, you cannot make out whether it is really related to vision related problem or are there any associated problems with it. And the third thing is be alert, be vigilant, be updated. You'll understand, what is happening. The neuroplasticity, though it is important, crucial in the early years, we have enough evidence this can happen all through the lifetime. So anything is never too late. So don't delay. Even if you suspect some delay, some deviation at a later point also, I think you have to attempt to do the therapy. And the fourth important clue would be like, in general, children who are born premature or having low birth weight, they will have, developmental related issues. So those kids need immediate attention.
Dr. Christie, a lot of people are talking like due to this pandemic, other patients have suffered due to this lockdown. Is it impacted persons with visual disability or people who had started finding some problem with their eyes.
If I can clarify your question, are you trying to ask, like, because of the pandemic, is there any risk for vision? Is that what
No,
you're asking?
are they suffering? Those people who have eye-related issue, are they suffering due to this pandemic?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it is like, the fear, the threat, the anxiety, it is for everyone, including the visually impaired. So that way, yes, overall, even people with visual impairment are suffering.
Let me
Um,
rephrase again. For example, there is a person who noticed that he is facing some eye-related issue, but due to this pandemic, or a second case, if somebody has to go through the surgery, but due to pandemic, he or she is not able to travel. So is there issues related?
Yeah, yes. Many patients are, calling us and then asking us, are we functioning? Are we closed? And many, they are saying they are not able to travel. State-related restrictions are there. It's certainly a critical,
So is it
thing that is
impacting?
happening. Yeah, definitely it is impacting, especially, things like glaucoma, you need to monitor more periodically to keep your eye pressure under control. So my suggestion would be, stay connected. At least here in LV Prasad, we have the telemedicine that is available, like how we are running the telerehabilitation. For any eye-related health, if you want to consult, you can contact us for that. Don't delay it, so that the consultants, ophthalmologists can connect with you at your personal mobile number through WhatsApp video call, and through other calls we have developed some software
Dr.
here.
Christie,
So
many a
through that.
time people speak something else in the interview and in practically it doesn't happen. How do you ensure that if somebody reaches out to you, you will make sure he or she will get proper treatment on phone?
I think we have shared our numbers, and I have shared my personal email ID also. I think that should be the guarantee that I can offer. And I think LV Prasad Eye Institute, the trust that we have built over the years. In fact, in any normal days, anybody can just walk in. We don't believe in, people coming with some recommendation. We do not encourage coming with some recommendation letter from some, higher officials. Anybody should walk in our organizations for availing the services, whether it is free of cost or the paid services. So, no, that's the confidence that we have built over the years.
Dr.
And
Christie, one
yeah.
more thing. Before, I think 2 years back, there was a different mechanism to measure the eyesight. It's why I think it's 6x6. Now, India has adopted the WHO method, 6x3 or something.
I know. For the normal vision, for the normal functioning, even 6x6 is considered universally.
Yeah.
Only for the research purpose, if you want to go by 6x3. And the WHO's revision of definition, it is to define the blindness that way. See, legally we say 6x60, and then for epidemiological purposes, this is 3x60. So, but then if you have to define a person legally to be blind, it is 6x60. There is no change in it.
Okay, there is no change.
A normal vision.
A lot of people have confused.
6x6.
A lot of people were confused. They think to reduce the number of blind in India, government has come up with this move. So you have given us clarity. It will not impact.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you are doing a lot of research, like operational research or clinic research or early intervention. What are the takeaways so far you can share with our listeners? What has LBP Eye Institute has achieved? What new has come up for our listeners from your research?
See, a lot of quality of life related research that we have done. So through that we are able to guide the patients with varying eye disorders in a much better way, like in a condition like macular degeneration. The results of it that is able to help the patients. And one common questions among many, like the research related to retinitis pigmentosa. If you are asking me, as of today, even we do not have any answer. It's a long going research, long process. We are partnering with several other national organizations like Shankar Netralaya, Aravind Eye Hospital, and then various other international
Can
eye
a good news
hospitals.
come soon for the RP patients?
See, as of now, it's all in the research phase. I cannot really assure you. I cannot comment any further on this. Sorry.
But people
Sorry
can
for that.
get.
Yes, that's the hope. With that only, we are all working on it.
One more thing, a lot of patients, it's our personal experience too. A lot of people, RP patients, they are going to some Ayurvedic institute and they are charging a lot of money. And some of them are psychologically getting benefit, but financially, they have to pay a huge amount to get the services, and a lot of people are getting blind due to that treatment as well, since medically it's proven that there is no cure till now for the RP. But everybody wants to go if they find something from somebody. No, you can be fine there. But some people, what would you advise to them?
Absolutely. You have well said the truth. I think leave alone them. If there is some improvement with the research things, that time we can worry about it. So don't spoil the eye structure. And then, initially it may, as you said, it may all looks, it will look very gloomy. They may feel some satisfaction. But personally, I heard many of, my clients who underwent such therapies, telling me that they went into depression. Raising the hopes on them, unnecessarily raising their anxiety. And many have also said, in a way, they didn't feel it comfortable with the therapy. So it's, of course, at the end of the day, it's a personal choice. But then, if I have to share my personal opinion, if it is for my family members, if it is for me, I will certainly not move forward for that.
But those people who have little vision and they have RP, and everybody is saying you will be blind later on, you will be blind. So they want to restore their vision. Would you share some tips so they can?
The nature of RP, it is like if somebody is developing RP at the age of 20 years, no 2% we can guarantee yes at the age of 40 you will lose your complete eyesight. It's a hereditary group of hereditary conditions, so you cannot predict anything.
No, but can you share some tips to some diet or how
vitamin A diet rich food you can do. But that again in the form of medicine we strongly discourage. So, to certain level, yes, to certain dose under strict medical follow-up, you can have the intake of vitamin A in the form of medicine. But beyond that, it is all the vitamin A rich food, and other things like enhance your environment, have the bright lit environment. That will make a whole lot of difference in your life. Sitting, it's like, me just walking in the dark room versus having the full light. Like what is normal to us may not be normal for patients with RP. Right. So enhance your lighting and then change the contrast. Changing contrast means suppose in your bathroom, if you're having both your bucket and the mug in red in color, just change the contrast, one of them. Okay. Change the contrast of your floor versus your curtain. So change in contrast and enhancing the lighting condition. And then clearing your pathway, just keep the things exactly the same way where you kept the furniture arrangements and vitamin A intake of vitamin A rich foods, and then regular follow-up once a year with your medical consultant, and then take vitamin A supplements under the strict supervision of your consultants. I think these things will help you. Probably you may need to change your glasses more periodically. Probably you may have problem with your peripheral vision. You have to turn your head right to left, top to bottom to scan things properly because your field may be restricted over the years. But if we cannot really predict, okay, by this age is what the people will go blind. There are people who live with residual vision for the rest of their life. So it all based upon your, genetic pattern.
Right. Dr. Christy, a lot of people came to LB Prasad Eye Institute. They took the training and they started empowering people with disabilities in their respective areas. Do you have particularly koi resource course for that? Do you have any particular training for them?
So currently the training programs that we are doing, it is more for the professionals. Like we have varying courses like short term, long term programs for the optometrists, for the doctors, for the special educators. For these students, we are initiating them very shortly. Right now, the computer training program that has been already going on online program, anybody can enroll.
No, it is for the disabled, right? I'm talking for the activist. They come, they learn, and they started their activism in their native areas.
Right. Yeah.
So is there any training for them?
Yeah, they can come. They can see right now because of the pandemic, we have not opened up the training program. Probably we may take another 6 months or 9 months time to organize ourselves again to open it up. But after that, yes, they can approach us, we can guide them. The programs are available at LV Prasad.
What are the challenges you are facing?
One of the biggest challenges for us is finding accommodation for them. LV Prasad, as such, we don't have in-house facility. What we have done previously, we have tie up with our other organizations. So somebody traveling from other states, we put them there and then they come here for training. We look after their other things, their travel, their food and other things. Only for accommodation, they stay elsewhere. But right now we are not able to, fulfill that. Like we're not able to put them anywhere else. So that's the major challenge for us currently. So we are holding all our in-house training for that reason. So anything online, if anybody is interested, we can do. But the practical hands-on in-house training, we are not able to do for that reason.
Right. What message you want to give to our listeners?
I think gone are those days. Earlier we used to say the taboo with visual impairment, only a particular job or only up to a particular level they can study. I think everything is possible now except for very restricted fields like in the field of medicine or in the field of something related to driving and other things. Everything is possible. It's all open now. And thanks to the technology, it's a real boon that's encouraging, giving all the equal opportunities. I'm not here to give any major advice as such, but then live your life, be yourself, enjoy everything, and then you may have come across some negative situations. Some it could be a person or it could be some negative incident, but then that's common for everyone. We should not highlight that. There are people who are positive all the time. It should be your responsibility to approach them, find them. That's it. Live your life.
Dr. Christy, what are the challenges you see before persons with disabilities in recent time?
Right. So sometimes I feel, I will not generalize the statement, but then with some of them, I found some rigidity in them. They were not really open, like sort of some, reservation in them in discussing or, okay, who are you to tell me? Or, are you really going to help me? So some hesitation or some reservation. You have to come out of that. As I said, you unless you speak openly, it's not the society's responsibility to approach you and then help you out. There may be some people who can come their own, but then I think you need to be open to accept anything. So that rigidity is something is disturbing. Sometimes I find it difficult to deal with those people.
What is your own mission? What is your own goal in this field?
I think 30 years of service in this field. I think I enjoyed every moment of my work experience here. Whether I have done personally some counseling to someone or through my team approach, I'm always thankful to my team. Without their support, this expansion would not have been possible. I think this is the call for me. I think as long as I'm working, as long as I'm able to work, I would continue work in the same field. Yeah,
LV
the way I want
Prasad
to
has
give up,
time and again bagged many
yeah,
prestigious awards.
right.
How much they matter to you?
It is important for the organization, but then yes, personally, I would say those recognition came on the way. Like we never worked aiming to achieve something. Um, just want to say like the services that we have expanded, starting from the single room service to whatever we are doing now, it is all based upon the requirement raised by someone. We never wanted to do something the particular organization is doing or somebody is doing for our name or fame. So yeah, we are happy this came on our way, uh, but then that's not the intention.
Last question. If you have to be critical of your own work, how would you
Right.
define that?
We have to do a lot. What we have done, what we have achieved, probably we are just halfway through. We have to bring the best practices everywhere else to our own country, our own nation. Lot to do. We need lot of commitment, more people joining our team. Lot to do.
During this pandemic, any special advice for the persons who are suffering from glaucoma or RP? Anything you want to suggest them?
Yeah, please don't ignore your medicines. Very, very, very important. And then do some basic exercise, which is your general health is important for eye health also. Obviously, that will increase, increase hypertension or increase blood sugar. That will obviously will affect your vision as well. So maintain your general health. If you are having any systemic diseases, please control them. Have periodical consultation with your ophthalmologist as well as with your general physician. Have proper diet. These are the suggestions probably will help you restore your vision.
Thank you so much, Dr. Christie, for your insights.
This is very nice talking to you. Thanks for this wonderful interview with me. Thanks a lot for your time too.
Yeah, is there anything I have missed you want to talk to our listeners?
I think we covered everything.
That's great.
That's it. Yeah.
So I'm a
Thanks
good
a lot.
interviewer, in other words.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks a
so
lot.
much.
Take
Hope to
care.
see you again. God bless
Take
you. You
care.
are doing
Please
a
do
terrific
visit
job.
us.
Keep the mission going.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So, listeners, today we spoke to Dr. Christie from LV Prasad Eye Institute. She has spoken about many projects, and you can share these details. You can share this show with your friends and relatives. There might be someone who desperately need it. So it is your duty to share this and carry forward their mission. If you need any help, email ID has been shared, phone number has been shared. You can directly contact with them. Thank you so much for listening. Next Sunday, I will be with another personality. Till then, keep listening. Radio Done, a flight of life. Bye-bye.